Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Classes of Mail. My name is Alan Gigax and I'm here with Michael Brazenly.
Hi everyone.
All right, and today we are going to go through the mailbag once again because these episodes are easy to do and you guys give us really good questions. Or in some cases, really good corrections, which is what this first thing is.
And then when it comes to we talk a lot.
Yeah, that is true. It gives us an opportunity to talk and share our own views and whatever. And you know, whenever we do an episode like this, they're kind of evergreen, and I don't know when they're going to be released because we're recording this 2 days before our election results, and we're probably going to have a lot to talk about after that happens. And so who knows when this...
Yeah, this is like part 2 on September 29th.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so when we release these episodes or when we record them, ever since the settlement out of Buffalo on the... what David Grosskopf, what was that settlement that he got? Oh, on the geofence or where you got a scanning integrity. Right. And we had just done mailbags on that. And then he got, go ahead.
So there was a episode that Alan put up last week, I think, where we talked about stuff that was like a month ago.
yeah, exactly. And things had changed.
And it was a mailbag where somebody was asking about how to file this grievance, which means it's a month later, means you've already filed that grievance.
Well, yeah, it's too late for that person, but other people can learn from it.
Please don't use us to file grievances if it's going to be...
Well, or call Michael if you need that information
if you need to go right away, then you need to call me.
Yeah,
okay?
Yep, exactly.
Because otherwise, if you send it as an email, we may not be answering that for like a month later.
Right.
In which you're not getting the information a month later, which may not be good by then.
Right.
So, but if you need to get help right away, just call me at my number at 702-724-6355.
Nice. Yep. And Michael absolutely answers and will give you very good answers.
Text first.
Questions. Yeah, there you go. Otherwise, he'll assume it's a telemarketer, as we all do.
Because I get so many of those.
Yeah, I hear you. So anyway, this issue with the scanning integrity, like we had gotten a mailbag question and we answered it to the best of our ability, but we don't have this grievance settlement that they just got that was, made a big splash. And so I was worried about that. Like, so bear in mind when we're recording this, if something crazy happens between now and then, nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, we're sorry about that.
Yeah.
We're doing the best we can.
Yeah.
We can't post everything all at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the first thing is a correction. So I had an episode on Diet Colas and class warfare. And in that, I talked about how we're all getting shafted because the full cola, or what Renfro would have us believe is the full cola, is only like actually 55% of the cost of living. And so we're all boned. Even if you get the full amount, it's still not the full amount.
By the way, this cola that we've been getting, it's been like that for the last 12
it's been that
years,
way indefinitely. Yeah, forever.
And it's been crap.
Yeah, right. And the wage increases are supposed to make up the difference. So I go over that at length in that episode. But it turns out I made an important mistake because what I said actually only applies to table 2, where if I get, let's say Michael is at step L and I'm at step P, and now we're both on table 2 because of the new contract. So at step P, I get $1,000 and Michael only makes 80% of my salary. So Michael gets $800 or, he gets 80% because it's proportional. We're both getting an increase of 1.2%. And so my increase is obviously going to be a little bit bigger because my salary is bigger. The clerks, on the other hand, have a deal where whoever is at the top step, if they get $1,000, then the person at step B also gets $1,000. And that's really helpful for the people at the lower steps to bridge that gap and to come up faster. Well, the person who sent me this email, Jeremy S., thank you very much for sending this. It turns out that table 1 had that same provision. And so Jeremy sent me this this article from the NALC that says that this particular cola that he sent me was $790, and it says this increase was added to every step in table 1. Every step in table 1 got $790, and step P in table 2, and then applied proportionally to steps B through O in table 2.
Means everybody on table 2 got screwed.
Yeah, because on table 1, everybody would have just got $790, and obviously that's better. And so, dude, it's even worse than I thought.
Yep.
I mean, I knew the situation for table 2, but I didn't realize that we had gotten that other benefit
I'm on
taken
table
away.
2.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Wait, so
I'm
am I
getting
now.
screwed.
I just happen to be at the top step, but now I'm on table 2 also. But it doesn't mean anything.
Why are you on table 2?
Because in the last contract, it said that everybody who's at step P in table 1 will be administratively slotted into step P at table 2.
But you're
because
still
it's the same
step P,
amount of
though.
money. Yeah, I'm still top step.
So you're still getting the $790.
Yeah. Yes,
So
I am.
Yeah, so you're not getting screwed at all.
Only in the sense that we're all getting screwed because they're all Diet Colas.
Right.
But
Well, that's
yeah.
true. They're
Yeah.
all Diet Colas because I'm
Right.
sure that 790 divided by 12 is only like what, $80?
Yeah.
$75
Right.
a month? And
Yeah.
a paycheck, $30 a paycheck? It's not a lot.
No, we all know that, yeah.
$30 may pay
wages
buy you
are not-
lunch.
Right. The wages are not where they need to be.
Yeah.
As long as you don't go to Five Guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I want to get to some emails. And so here we go. Hi, hope you are well. Question. I'm an ODL carrier on the overtime desired list. There's 2 in total, counting me in our office of 15 city carriers. No CCAs or PTFs, all regulars. All right, so 2 ODLs, 13 8-hour carriers, presumably, or could be work assignment, whatever. Since that's the case, we ODLs work Sundays, but we have a rotation. One Sunday is me, the next is the other ODL carrier. Lately, management wants both of us to work every Sunday. The thing is, I have my religious meetings every Sunday. I understand as an ODL carrier, we'll be put to work on Sundays, holidays, or non-scheduled days if needed, and I've been doing so with no complaints. But Sunday is where the issue is rising. I told my supervisor about my religious beliefs and the importance for me to go Sunday to my religious meetings. I clarify I am already working with management on a rotation, working a rotation of Sundays, but I can't do every Sunday. I mentioned, why can't they put another city carrier who's not on the ODL to help the ODL? The supervisor seemed hesitant. So I'm going to break out here to address that. No, they can't take somebody who's not on the overtime list and work them Sunday. That would be a mandate, and that would absolutely be inappropriate. Okay, so moving on. He said he'll try to work this out. In case they try to force me to work on Sundays, I plan on talking with the postmaster. If that does not work, I plan on filing an EEO. What are your thoughts on this? Even if it's temporary, both ODL working Sundays, I still clarified I can't do it every Sunday.
He's a PTF?
No, full-time regular.
Full-time regular.
Full-time regular, but on the ODL.
On the ODL, how many ODLs?
2.
Only 2 ODLs.
Only 2.
So
in a 15
all
15 carriers.
So all ODLs have to work on Sunday.
Yeah.
Get off the ODL then.
Yeah, you could do that. You could go to work assignment. You could, well, dude, I mean, we've got the new list where you could do overtime on your scheduled days, but have your non-scheduled days to yourself.
Right. Then yeah.
This is a good solution
And to
for
not
that
work on your
problem.
days off.
Right.
And then when they do, that's a grievance.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but then you'd be one of 14 carriers who might be rotated through on Sunday.
But again, that is a rotation, so you'll
instead
get
of being one of 2.
Exactly.
Right. But it sounds like this person is willing to work some Sundays, just not every Sunday.
Again, if you're in rotation, you'll be working only some Sundays, not every Sunday.
Yeah. Dude, the overtime only on your scheduled day list seems like the way to go here.
So
you might lose your
So
other
here's the
day
thing
off.
is that if overtime is more important, then that's what you do. But if church is more important, then you get off
Right.
the overtime list.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is kind of up to you.
Yeah, you kind of have to decide what's more important, having that other day off, working that other day off, say working your Wednesday off, or being off on Sunday. Which
Right.
one do you want more?
So it is on this. That's going to be your option. Okay. On
Yeah.
what's more important for you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point, Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. That is not the answer. This is why I love doing this with Michael, because I already had an answer in my head that I had prepped for. And then Michael came up with a much more straightforward solution. And so, yeah, Michael, you are exactly right. But since I already prepped for it, I think this is something the listeners will find interesting.
Okay, sure.
About religious exemptions and working on Sundays. This is a Supreme Court case from pretty recently of Groff versus DeJoy.
Yeah, he came out like a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Something like that.
Yeah, I remember reading about it.
Yeah, so this is I'm going to read this article about it, and it basically summarizes it. All right, here we go. In ruling on a case involving an employee of the U.S. Postal Service, the Supreme Court of the United States made it clear, they call it SCOTUS going forward, the Supreme Court, made it clear then employers can no longer avoid granting employer requests for religious accommodations on the basis that granting the accommodations would cost them more than a de minimis amount. So a de minimis amount would be like it really doesn't cost you anything extra to have one person work versus the other, or to give them this day off, or whatever it is. So now saying that it costs us a little bit is no longer an acceptable reason to force to not accommodate someone's religious request. All right, going on. The case was brought by USPS employee Gerald Groff, an evangelical Christian and former missionary who worked as a substitute letter carrier. He had refused to take any Sunday shifts and was disciplined for it. Eventually, Groff resigned and subsequently sued the USPS. His lawsuit claimed his employer had violated Title VII of the Civil Rights Act in not granting his request for religious accommodations. SCOTUS raises bar for denial of religious accommodation, clarifies the meaning of undue hardship. The High Court's decision said that employers must provide reasonable accommodations for its employees when religious observances conflict with their job responsibilities, unless the accommodation imposes an undue hardship. So now that's where the standard is, to go out of the article for a sec, is it used to be just anything more than a de minimis amount, and they could say, you can't do it. Now the post office in this case would have to show that it puts an undue hardship on the post office. Like, take, for example, when I first started, I was a PTF. I worked at the strip post office. We only had like 12 routes, and I was the only PTF. And so in order for me to have Sunday off, they would have to force in some regular carrier, and that would be probably an undue hardship, because instead of paying me my regular pay, they'd have to bring somebody in, double time, whatever it is. But in the situation of, well, I don't know. I mean, this person...
Actually, you see, on that, I take it the other way.
Okay.
Undue hardship to me means is that the post office has to do it as an emergency. Because in reality, you can still pay people extra to cover somebody for religious activity.
Yeah, that's a question, right? It becomes an argument over what constitutes an undue hardship.
Yeah. And to me, that's not undue hardship for the post office, because they have the money to mandate carriers and things like that all times.
That would be part of the argument for sure.
Yeah, so therefore, there is no undue hardship.
Because this is clearly money they're willing to pay
just
for their own incompetence.
Exactly. So to me, there is no undue hardship.
Dude. Michael's so good at this stuff. Yeah, that's good, quick thinking. All right, so go on. It goes on. The justices also reinterpret...
This is what we talked about from the previous episode. It is management's responsibility to properly staff. So if there is enough people to cover everything, they need to hire more people.
Right. And to go back to when I was a PTF on Sundays, we would go to like this centralized location. Back then, we just did expresses on Sundays. Mm-hmm. Theoretically, they could bring in a PTF from some other station that has extra and have them cover the shift and give me Sunday off. Mm-hmm. And that wouldn't be an undue hardship. But the justices go on to reinterpret the meaning of undue hardship and held that Title VII of the Civil Rights Act requires employers who deny religious accommodations must show that the burden of granting an accommodation would result in, quote, substantial increased costs in relation to the conduct of its business, end quote. So there's your standard now, substantial increased costs. They could probably argue that paying somebody overtime instead of straight time would be that substantial increased cost. But that's
again,
about...
They can hire somebody else.
Yeah. Well, but hiring a whole other person would also probably constitute a substantial increased cost.
It is them to properly staff to cover people going on annual leave, sick leave, religious thing, or whatever it is. They're supposed to hire enough people to cover all of that. That is why there's such thing as called CCAs, City Carrier Assistants, to help out the carriers because of that reason.
Right. Okay? That's why CCAs exist. If there are CCAs in your installation, they could easily be used. Yeah.
But again, why doesn't this station have CCAs?
That I don't know.
Oh, maybe because they're not properly staffing.
Yeah, that is entirely possible.
Because from what they have, they should have a minimum of 2 to 3 CCAs.
I don't know. Right. I can't speak to that. I don't know the situation there. But the point is well taken, that management probably does have other options that they can work with you. And this Supreme Court case gives you more ammunition, more persuasive value to try to make those arguments, because now they have to show an undue burden.
And the biggest thing is that you have to make that work with your steward or your or branch,
Right.
and how to fight this because management will fight of not giving you the time.
Right. They're not just going to automatically give it to
So
you.
you got to figure out a way with the union, with the steward, how to file this grievance when they're not going to give you the time.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. All right. Moving on to the next email. I saw recently that we are losing Amazon permanently. Can you share your thoughts on the podcast about postal banking, courier and copying services, and the purchase/exclusive carrier for eBay as all as revenue streams for USPS? So first, let's talk about losing Amazon. So it's probably an inevitability. Certainly in urban and even suburban areas, Amazon is building out their delivery fleet. We know there's already some cities where they do all their own.
The history is when I first started as a CCA, there was no Amazon delivery. Okay, it was almost a year later that we started having that Amazon contract and had to deliver Amazon. And we were basically the only ones delivering Amazon at the time.
Right.
Then they ended up getting UPS and FedEx to be involved in it. And then they decided to get their own trucks.
Right.
Okay. So we've had many news that Amazon is doing everything in their power to do their deliveries on their own without anybody else.
Right.
So we know this is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So in cities, it's probably just a matter of time. Like here in Las Vegas, they already have a bunch of distribution centers.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of trucks.
Yeah, me and Alan talked about it earlier. Rural areas might be different, but since they're working on using drone delivery, who knows? They might be doing that for rural also.
They certainly might. Yeah. Yep. So it seems like an inevitability. And so it is a big chunk of revenue and
that we're not
of
making
our
too much
volume.
of.
No, we're not making a bunch of money on it. I don't believe the conspiracy people who say like we're losing money on every Amazon package. It
No,
seems
we're not
unlikely
losing money on Amazon.
because they bring it all the way to the dock.
Yeah.
But it's still something that you, as a carrier, you need to think about for your own route. Is if you suddenly get like 30 less parcels every day.
But the post of it in the meantime should be charging Amazon for more money in the meantime.
I'm sure there's a contract that
I know there's a contract.
Yeah, why don't we have Doug Tolino negotiating that contract? Because he sure got one over on us.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Amazon has better negotiators than the NALC does.
No, maybe. I think we have the right people in the NALC. We just don't use them.
Oh, yeah. I hear you. That's the problem with being a go it alone type person like Renfro is yeah. Okay.
He has plenty of good, smart people in his office.
Dude, I want to digress on this for just a sec because I talked to a carrier who was part of this rank and file committee who got flown into the, for those meetings.
Washington, D.C.
Yeah. And went to the Maritime Academy and did all this. And, it seems like Renfro is saying the right things now. And seems to understand. He did
that even before the tenant agreement came out.
Yeah, so this is the problem, right? Yes, it looks like Renfro was saying the right things, and I'm of a mind to try to give him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, as Michael points out, he was saying right things last time too. They just weren't true.
Right.
And so, yeah, he's putting on a good show. They're like, oh, we're going to listen to the carriers and see, what's the best contract we can make.
But because of what he did last time, how can we believe anything he says?
That's the problem, is I don't trust him. It's show, it's theater. Until proven otherwise, because he already showed who he was with the last contract. So this is theater until proven otherwise.
Right. Which he's the reason why he decided to change the contract to end in May.
Oh yeah, so that he can
take
the next
over
one before,
and maybe he will actually change it and make it good.
Maybe.
It's crossing fingers.
Dude, obviously that's what we all want.
If he does that, then
we want him to crush it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll still vote for James Henry, but at least he can go out a winner. Renfro can go out doing something good instead
to show us that he's for the carriers because he hasn't shown it that much at all.
No, he's not. Okay, so anyway,
even though he has gotten some good decisions for us.
His presidential rulings top notch.
Yeah.
All right. I bet you our president would disagree with that. Our local president, he doesn't like him at all.
Well, when he's breaking the rules, of course not.
Yeah, when the rulings are that obvious. All right. So anyway, the question again is what are our thoughts on postal banking, courier service? I really like the idea of postal banking.
Banking I think is good.
Yeah. because there are underserved communities, there's underbanked people who really need those kind of services from someone they can trust, and not having to go to the shady check cashing places.
And
stuff
having
like that.
banking where even our own employees of the postal service use our own banking. Why not?
Yeah,
Why not have the
absolutely.
post to save hold onto the money that they give to their employees and
Right.
use that for banking?
Right. So that seems like a reasonable idea to me. The idea of getting like a monopoly on eBay, it's a nice idea.
But,
Would
here-
eBay
but
go
here's the
for it?
thing.
Yep.
The post office is supposed to be a non-profit organization.
Right.
Okay, so it makes it really difficult to do banking to make any profit because banking, they're supposed to make profit, right?
Yeah, but that's part of the idea.
So it makes it extremely hard. So, but if post office can actually have banking without making huge amounts of profit, enough to pay the employees,
Right.
enough to pay for other things, and I think that'll be all right.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I think everything will be cheaper.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because the idea would be that we're doing banking without this huge profit motive. And that's better for the consumer, especially better for people in poorer neighborhoods who can't afford to pay monthly fees for their checking account and stuff like that. I've been that person. I've been overdrawn. I mean, dude, back in the day before online, like mobile banking, I had to check to like go to the ATM, put in my card, see how much balance I had. Hopefully it was over $20 so that I could withdraw. Otherwise I was screwed.
Yeah. That's what it's like being poor, though.
Yeah, dude, I got plenty of experience with that. All right. So anyway, so yeah, I'm
So
in
having
favor
a
of that.
courier service and things like that, that courier service is already, we're
Yeah.
doing that already.
And that market, that field is kind of swamped at the moment, courier service. What I like is this floated idea of maybe doing census work. And I think somebody showed me a news story this morning that it's being tested in some areas.
Having the post office do census work?
Yeah, because we got to go to
Maybe.
every door.
Maybe.
And yeah.
But but are they going to have the mail carriers go talk to those people?
Yeah. Yeah, we would go like knock on the door, fill out the questionnaire. I don't know what census
I mean,
workers do.
I say good in the fact that we'll have more time and job for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So
More
if they're
revenue
gonna-
for the
more
post
revenue
office.
for carriers to have more job.
Yeah, the question is, does
Then
it
I
come
say
with a pay
sure,
raise?
why not?
Right.
Yeah, but I hope that they're not going to add that to our job and say, oh, you can still do that in 8 hours.
Yeah, right. Yeah, go knock on these 71 doors and be done in 8.
In 8 hours, yeah.
And we got a split for you when you get back.
Yeah.
Good times. Okay, so now we get into one that's a little more interesting. Or, I mean, they're all interesting, but this one is, well, you'll see. What advice can you offer a steward in navigating workplace beef between two carriers? I've seen this crop up occasionally, and I find myself walking a tightrope every time. I've seen clear-cut cases in which one carrier is definitely in the wrong, but most of the time the poor behavior is on both sides. When possible, I've sat the two parties down without management present and been successful in resolving the bad blood. More often, the animosity becomes such a problem that management must intervene. In these instances, management conducts separate interviews with the two carriers and the steward present. My question is how to best represent both these discussions with management without throwing one carrier under the bus. I always endeavor not to invite discipline or worse on any carrier that I represent. I'm curious to know your thoughts on this.
First of all, before he goes to management, he should be dealt with privately and use the steward as like a mediator. Okay.
Right. Which is what
to
the,
me,
what the
I think
person
that should be
said.
done first.
Yeah, that's your
Okay?
best option, obviously.
If
Take
that
the two
is
people.
not working, then you ask the branch.
Okay.
Okay, on how that
What do
works.
you ask them? You ask them for advice on how to mediate this?
Right.
Okay.
Because in reality, as a steward, you're doing everything possible to stay away from management. Okay. Now, if it becomes a hostile, where somebody's like saying they're gonna beat you up or something
Right.
that's gonna be sounds like it's gonna be physical, now that becomes management responsibility to stop that from happening.
Right.
Okay? And that needs to be reported immediately. Okay. But
Yeah.
I know you don't want to rat somebody out, but if somebody's threatening your life, you gotta say something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's reasonable going to the hall. Like, if you can't mediate this, maybe the branch president can.
Right.
You know, or somebody from the outside, something like
Yeah,
that.
if you can avoid using management, I would try that first.
Right. And in case management does have to get involved, and now you found yourself representing both carriers, the move there.
If you have enough 2 or more carriers, I would say each steward or two or more stewards, then have each of them
person
take
gets
the
their own
person.
steward.
Yeah.
And that may even mean contacting, if you're the only steward at your station, contact the hall, get them to send an outside steward
Get one of the officers
to
too.
come and represent one of the carriers. Right, exactly. And that's what happens, as I understand it, in like mutual combat cases, or like there's a physical fight between two carriers and they both get put on emergency placement. One steward takes one carrier, one steward takes the other carrier, and they both do their damnedest to represent them against management, not against each other.
And for a steward, a lot of times they'll ask you, what did management do to stop this from happening?
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
so there's that issue too.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
because you do have, ultimately, it's management's responsibility to foster an environment of mutual respect.
Which I have a story on this.
Okay.
Okay. So I have a carrier that thought that I was sleeping with his wife.
Okay.
And so he came up to my case and decided he wants to argue and fight me at my case. Okay.
Okay. Do you want to set the record straight right here? Were you sleeping with that carrier's wife?
No, I did not. Absolutely not. Never did.
Okay.
And but he thought that I did, because he has issues with what's going on at home, and to thought blame it to the person that he thought that might be happening to, which was not true.
Okay.
And so anyway, he decided to come to my case and wanted to fight. Well, how am I going to fight somebody on something where I didn't even do?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Okay.
It doesn't seem worth fighting over.
No. Okay. So I'm telling him to just go back to his case.
Yeah.
Okay. He won't listen. He still wants to fight. So finally, we get to the point where we get into verbal argument, because I said, get the fuck away from me, dude.
Right.
And because we're at work, I don't want to get fired because you want to start a fight for something that's stupid, right? And so management finally decides to come by, and this manager says, "Oh, you need to go back to your case." Did that carry thing? Do you think that person did listen to what the supervisor said?
I doubt it.
No.
Yeah.
And so, and he wouldn't leave. He wouldn't leave. And you know what I did?
Tell me.
I said, "Hey, if you want to stay in my case, that's up to you, but I'm leaving." So I walked away, and I told the manager, "Hey, I'm taking a break because somebody's taking over my case, and I don't want to start a fight, so I'm staying away." Of course, the manager going to say, "Oh, yeah, please do that."
Yeah.
Because they don't want no confrontation either.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
So some of it is you being smart about it and walk away.
Yeah, that's a good move.
Okay? And obviously, this guy is talking about somebody that's not him, and it's the other two.
Right.
And unfortunately, sometimes people will not think straight. Okay?
No, that's the truth.
And I've had many stories where somebody slept with somebody's wife and so forth, and they get into like a fight. And I've seen that happen.
Dude, I don't need those kind of problems.
Yeah. So, those things you can't help if you're, those two people are going to do what they do. All you can do as a steward is how to stop it from happening.
Right.
You don't want
Yeah,
people
try
to
to
get hurt.
prevent it.
Yeah.
So ultimately, let's remember our role as stewards is to protect carriers. And so the first step is prevention, which the person who sent the email rightly points out. That's what I try to do first, mediate. If you can't prevent it yourself, you can get management involved and have them try to prevent this from escalating, because ultimately it's way easier to prevent it than it will be to now defend both of those carriers from identical charges for management or whatever, whatever it becomes.
Again, you're asking for help, not want them to try to fire people either.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You're right. And that's management's job, is to try to resolve the issue, to try to correct the issue rather than be punitive. Yep. All right. Good job, us.
And another thing they
yes.
can use is the EAP.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
And say, hey, this is stressing me out because these two people are doing this, this, and this. You can contact the EAP and say, hey, I need help.
Yeah, dude, that's a good call.
And then the other thing is, because these two people are doing that, it's none of your business.
No, that's true.
You can stay away from it.
Yeah, you could just let it go, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I wear earbuds.
On something like that, maybe I'll go to a steward. Hey, man, this is what's going on.
Right.
And you did what you're supposed to do by letting somebody know what's going on, and then walk away.
Yeah, that is true. Sometimes people make their own messes, and you can only do so much to clean them up.
Exactly. Don't basically what I'm saying is mind your own business or something like that. Let them fight it out.
If you can prevent it, great.
Let them fight it out, not at fists, but let them talk it out amongst themselves.
Right. And again,
Sometimes
to that end, mediating.
It'll be fixed.
Yeah. Right. Sometimes people got to solve their own problems.
Exactly.
All right. So that's all we have for today. Guys, thank you very much for listening. Michael, thank you for coming and doing some more episodes with me. I appreciate it. And dude, good luck to as people hear this, it will now be in the past. Good luck to us
So
on
the
Wednesday.
next episode, I guess we'll know our results and we'll let everybody know what happened.
But by the time they hear this episode, that should already have been published.
Right.
And dude, it's like time travel.
So
it's like Inception in here.
We'll see what happens. We'll
Yes.
see what happens.
All right, guys. So thank you very much for listening, and we will catch you all next time. So I wasn't ready with the music.